All right. What's up, everybody? Just give me one sec while I type some stuff on Twitter. Gotta announce that I'm live, of course. If you want to skip this part and you're watching this later, there will be a timestamp for you. I'm gonna just do a little bit of housekeeping, go over some stuff, and then we can get started here. Just give me 1 second. I need to actually post this. Otherwise, no one will know that this is happening. Because I didn't announce it at all. All right. It is posted. Well, thanks for joining me if you're here. Couple of things to go over. First of all, this is sort of just a test live stream. I've streamed on Twitter and YouTube a number of times before, and my computer died. The hard drive died, so I had to get it all set up again. And I have an upcoming stream on Saturday, April 6th. That's like 3 days from now. So really waiting till last minute to get this all set up. I'm going to be live with Yuval Kudov. Definitely pronounced that wrong there. But yeah, he's joining me for Talking Spoilers. We're going to talk about his books, The Hand of God, and all of our sins. So hope you can join me for that. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit different from that. So this is something I wanted to do a while ago. I waited way too long to start this. I wanted to do first impressions of all of the SPFBO9 finalists. So I wanted to like actually live stream me reading the first chapter or so, and give you my thoughts as we go through, and yeah, maybe like predictions of where the story's going to go and just my general impressions. I have no idea if it's going to be interesting at all, so it's just an experiment, something I'm trying. But of course I waited way too long, and now it's already April, and the competition is basically over at this point. I think like this month, in a couple weeks, we'll know who the winner of SPFBO9 is. So yeah, that's going to be exciting to see. And then we'll start SPFBO10, or SPFBO-X as they're calling it. All right, well, I guess let's just jump right in. We're going to be reading this book here, Daughter of the Beast by EC Greaves. So Ed Greaves, I've chatted with him a little bit, mostly on Twitter, not really too much in person. So Ed, if you're watching this, I'm very sorry. I've chosen your book to embarrass myself while reading, and hopefully it doesn't embarrass you. But yeah. Let's see. The blurb on the back says, "Fear not the beasts in your stories, for anything can be slain with a stout blade and a stouter heart. When her sleepy village is raided by the Volcari, the fearsome warrior women of the ancient wilds, only Zintail Fairwinter is taken. Claimed as a daughter by their infamous matriarch, Zintail is trained to hunt, to fight, and to kill. In the company of their unruly young, she must find sisterhood. In their ancient customs and beliefs, she might find beauty. And in the violence of their raids, she might even find a path to glory. But it is a glory that must be earned in the blood of those Zintail once called her own, for the Volcari are not like other women. The Volcari are monsters." All right, so one thing about how I'm going to be reading this is, you know, there's nothing worse than when like a person is reading a book and they don't do voices, I feel like, right? Like, the characters should sound different. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like a bad like English literature class. English, high school English class is what I was trying to say. And no one wants that. That's stupid. So I'm going to be trying to do like actual voices here. I'm going to be trying to like try and read this well in like an entertaining way. I have no idea if I'll succeed there. And so I am not a professional audiobook narrator. As you could probably tell. So don't expect the voices to be like consistent or amazing or anything like that, but I'll at least be trying. That's all I can promise. We're not going to be reading it from this. That was just to read the blurb on the back here. We're going to be reading it on the Kindle so that you can read along with me. If Kindle wants to work, why is it not working? What's going on here? Oh, it's down. I was pressing right. It's up? Why is up going forward? I don't understand. Okay, let's get started. Life is but footfalls in a forest, running towards something or from something. It matters not. Some charge brazenly through, some weave around, but all must navigate the bracken of the forest floor. To meander or to stay in place is to await the lurkers in the darkness, those beasts that prey upon the slow and the lame. For as long as you keep on moving, life is but footfalls in a forest. Old gnome proverb. Okay. So we're getting some gnomes and stuff in this book. So just right away, I think it's going to be interesting. We've got like a lot of non-human races in this, from what I understand. Like even the main character is a non-human. I think it's all non-human races. I have literally no idea anything other than like other people's impressions about the book. Like I've heard a little bit about this. I've heard it's interesting. It's something I've wanted to read for a while, so I've been holding off just so that I could do this stream, which is part of why I chose to do this one first, because I actually want to read this book. But yeah, this is an interesting little way to start the story. It's kind of like setting up the theme, I think. Life is but footfalls in a forest. So what does that mean? I don't know yet. For Charlotte. Okay, Daughter of the Beast, Book 1 of the Vaishivka trilogy. Oh, I'm going backwards. Why is Kindle set up to do this on the web? Anyway. Chapter 1. I parried the blow, then twisted to lash out with an attack of my own. He deflected it easily. Perhaps I had underestimated this so-called knight. Controlled, quick thrusts, a feint and then a backhand. His footwork, too, was impressive. But it was all rehearsed, and he wasn't dueling some instructor's pet in the academy now. This was a fight to the death. Back and forth, atop the two halves of a giant rock that jutted like a broken and blackened tooth from the swirling, hungry magma below. His order would not reach the ebony ziggurat. They would not find my master, and they would not stop the ritual of rebirth. Oh no, I wouldn't let them. All right, there's a lot going on here already. Sorry, I should have also said in the beginning, if you like just listening to books without interruption, this is not the stream for you. Sorry to say. I'm going to be just like giving my thoughts, stopping and interjecting here and there. Okay, so yeah, we're right into the action. Always good to start with some action in a book. I do like how it was described and everything here. I feel like it's all pretty easy to follow. This idea of them fighting on top of two halves of a giant rock, it reminds me very much of the end of Lion King for some reason. Just hungry magma below reminds me all just the hyenas and the fire below on Pride Rock as Scar and Simba fight. Very cool, just like lots of great visuals right away. His order would not reach the ebony ziggurat, okay? And there's a ritual of rebirth going on. So this is the main character, okay? I assume. This doesn't mean like prologue, right? This is chapter 1. All right, let's keep going. Every muscle and sinew in my body alight with fury, I roared and leapt forward across the gap. He skidded back just in time to avoid my wild overhead swing, his feet skidding in the ashen dust and sending pebbles of scoria and obsidian clattering into the fiery depths below. He was off balance, but he wasn't defeated. Yet. I pressed the advantage and swung my axe at chest height, but to my own surprise, he again managed to deflect the attack and counter with his own. 3 lunges in rapid succession. The first I twisted to avoid. The second scraped across my weapon, sparking as it went, and the final thrust caught me square in the stomach. Ting! It glanced harmlessly off my armor. What? That's dumb. You aren't wearing armor. Okay, hold on. I'm a little lost here. Okay, so obviously this bit here is sort of like she's imagining that she's protecting the ebony ziggurat and a ritual of rebirth. This is part of like her culture, and this is maybe like a rite of passage she's going through here. So she lost. Ting, it glanced harmlessly off my armor. His sword, or he has a sword, right? I think. She has an axe. I think he has a sword or an axe. I don't know if it's said. But, okay. Hits her in the stomach. I'm thinking a thrust, so I'm thinking a sword. Glanced harmlessly off my armor. What? That's dumb. You aren't wearing armor. Am too. No, Zinni. You're a savage minion of the necromancer. You're a barbarian, not a knight of the fair reach. And besides, they don't make armor for girls. Perhaps the necromancer was sick of resurrecting his minions, and I got a suit custom made. I shrugged. Okay, so this is like kids play acting. See, this is why I hate playing with you. You just make stuff up and break the rules. Layden threw his stick into the brook and sat down on the mossy rock in a huff. I sighed, cast my weapon away too, then sat on the other half of the great split rock across from him. I dipped a toe in the water that gurgled happily between the halves. He frowned at me, then grumbled. Okay, so they actually are on top of rock, but it's not hungry magma swirling below. It's just like a stream. So yeah, this is all in her imagination. I like that. Also, sorry if you can hear the dog barking in the background. Just consider that atmosphere. There's probably dogs in the book or something. But yeah, this is pretty funny. It's just some kids. It's like what kids always do. Like I guess she's narrating this or something, and she's like, "No, she's just making up rules on the fly." Why don't you just go make a crown of flowers and stare at yourself in the pond like you usually do, he said. I'll just fight myself then. Oh, come on, Lay. Don't sulk. You love playing with me. You always want to, and you always ask me to come, I reminded him, and threw a little balled-up chunk of lichen at my friend. Well, who else am I going to play with? Radu? Yarrow? He huffed. Radu's only 6 summers old, and Yarrow's mama won't ever let him come into the woods anymore. Thanks to you. Oh yeah, that's right. I remembered. It was ever since I dared him to stick his hand in that beehive. I sniggered. She's a bad influence. Nope, up. Layden smiled too, even though he tried his best to hide it from me. He couldn't help it, I knew. He must have been remembering the look on Yaramir's fat face. You complain about Yaramir and Radu, but imagine how I feel. At least you have other boys to do stuff with. I'm the only girl our age, I reminded Layden. What if I invited you to make flower crowns and stare into the pond? Make up stories to explain the new patterns Mother sewed on my dress? Would you want to do that? He threw a bald bit of moss back at me. It bounced off my forehead. No, Zinni. And I don't even know why you do stuff like that either. Those flowers are just flowers. Your stitching's just pretty patterns. It's all dumb girl stuff. Totally make-believe. And besides, Zinni, you don't even look like a girl anyway. Makes it even weirder that you like that stuff. What? What's that supposed to mean? You calling me ugly? I stood up and picked up a knotted piece of wood. I'm going to bash your face in, and you clearly aren't wearing a helmet. Layden leapt to his feet and hastily grabbed a weapon. Yes, I am, you savage beast, he cried, and closed his shining metal visor as the duel to the death began anew. That's funny. Okay. What's up, Tim? Thanks for joining me. Yeah, I'm here to just embarrass myself today, reading some stuff, doing lots of silly voices of like little girl voices and little boy voices. That's what Ed has in store for me, apparently. I have no idea what I'm getting into when I read these books. Let's keep going. Zintail, your dress is ruined, and it took a summer to embroider. Zintail, fair winter, what have you tangled in your hair? What have you got tangled in your hair? Oh, what have you been doing with that boy again? Was what she would probably say when I returned. What was it Mama had said last time, though? Why do we do it, Zintail? Why must mothers suffer children so? And what is it for, child? What does it mean? I had no idea what she was on about, but at least she didn't punish me for ruining her garden or unpicking the stitched patterns on my dress. I hoped it would be like that time, and not the usual nagging, extra chores and no supper before bed. Though perhaps 2 springtime adventures going unpunished in a row might be pushing my luck a bit. After all, I'd lost my sandals today. Yeah, I also hope you don't hear it in my voice from now on. That would be the worst outcome, I think, for both of us. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Gotta pronounce the word. Reckon Mamachka will be cross again? I asked Layden, between mouthfuls of foraged berries and the cheese I'd borrowed from the pantry. He squinted at the boughs above us, as though the swaying leaves or the pure perfumed air of the glade held the answer. My mama told me that yours is always annoyed at you because you slack off, Layden told me. Did you help with chores before you came here this morning? I watched a bee dance from flower to flower, busy with its never-ending work amongst the spring blooms. I wished to never be like that poor, stupid insect. What a horrible life. Okay, so hold on. This is like an important character moment here. This is sort of telling us what she cares about. She doesn't want to be just someone who's doing like the daily rituals and the regular upkeep and everything. She's someone who wants a more exciting life. Well, I think that's what she has in store. Seeing as she's probably going to get kidnapped at the end of this chapter or something. No, I just left, I admitted. Then, yeah, your mama will probably be cross again today, Layden shrugged. You're such a lout. Yeah, I supposed he was right, but village life was so dull, and work only made it more so. Besides, it wasn't as though my parents really needed any help with chores anyway. They really only made me clean stuff, or tend to Zachia's punishment. For the most part, they seemed to forget that I existed, unless I'd misbehaved. Mamachka has Magda to help her, and to look after the baby anyway. That's her whole job, I told Layden. You've only got to work because your parents are too poor to have servants. Slaves, you mean. Whatever. Maybe if you become a wealthy knight, you could buy some help, or capture some in battle, I said. My maybe great-grandfather was a wealthy knight, and he didn't have slaves or servants, Layden began, when he slew the magnificent emerald dragon of these woods, and got that scar on his face that was passed from son to son. Yeah, I know. I've heard the story of your birthmark 5 dozen times now. He got it given a load of silver as payment by the king, blah, blah, blah. Didn't once keep slaves. I finished Layden's tale for him, then stared at him expectantly, goading him. But then, why are your parents just bakers, Lay? Shouldn't you be rich, too? Layden knew I knew the answer. Oh, that's right. Your father's uncle inherited the wealth, and then drank it all away, leaving your family with nothing as proof that it ever happened. Well, nothing but a dumb magical birthmark. Layden kicked me, hard. You know, Zintail, sometimes I wonder if your mama doesn't love you because you're horrible, or if you're horrible because she doesn't love you. The boy hissed, then scurried away before I could hit him with something. It was my turn to sulk for a while, and I did so whilst I sat with my back against the cool mossy stone of the split rock, weaving flowers and fronds into my hair. Sorry, the dog is like going crazy upstairs. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway. When I reached up for another frond, an ugly little girl with a flat, boyish face peered up at me from between lily pads and water flowers. Her grassy eyes were rimmed with red, and her cheeks were flushed with freckles and bitterness. No amount of petals in her messy auburn hair would make her beautiful, not with her bushy eyebrows and wide, bat-like ears, large even by Camoran standards. Okay, so this is her reflection. For some reason, at first I thought this was an actual ugly little girl like coming up from the water, and it was going to be like some mermaid or something like that. I don't know. Okay, so this is what our main character looks like. She's got flat boyish face, eyes rimmed with red, cheeks with freckles and bitterness. She's got auburn hair, messy. So pretty much she looks like this. That's her. But you can see her face. I wasn't going to cry, though. I wasn't a baby. I was almost 11 summers old. And besides, Mamachka said crying only made one uglier, and I really didn't want to risk it. I so wished there were other girls my age in the village. There used to be. But Olyena died of fever 2 summers ago, and another family moved away when I was just a babe, taking their daughter with them. I didn't know that girl's name, but my mother talked about the family a few times. She spoke of them fondly to other people, but she loathed them in private, because they were wealthy too. I sometimes wondered what that girl would be like. Probably boring. No matter. I was stuck with Layden, as he was with me. Probably for life, given our inevitable impending betrothal. Oh, they're going to get married. This is Nala and Simba. With a heavy sigh, I forced myself to accept that fact, and then joined him in his current activity. My mood was soon forgotten, along with the reason for it, whilst we chased woodland creatures, clambered over gnarled roots, wrestled in underbrush that hummed with insects, threw stones at birds, and foraged in wild earthy mushrooms together until the sun began to burn orange in the undergrowth. It was then that we smelled the smoke. Oh man, action! Infused with the sweet and soothing springtime breeze, and carried from the direction of the village, it evoked excited thoughts of a bonfire and feast, though I couldn't recall mention of any festivity tonight. We decided to make our way back home, and chatted about tomorrow's plans as we followed the meandering trail through the woods. The closer we got to home, the thicker and heavier the smoke became. Along with it came a mounting sense of dread that something was amiss, for no sounds of revelry echoed through the forest, no squeals of joy or celebratory music met our ears. Layden smiled too, even though he tried his best. Wait, hold on. I went the wrong way. I will learn these controls eventually. We were almost upon our village, the smoke choking us, birds silent in the trees surrounding us, and the sun almost set when I finally heard voices. People shouting and crying out, not cries of jubilation and glee, but of terror and pain. Spurred into a panicked sprint, I hurried along the path until the village came into view. The buildings were ablaze. Against the backdrop of twisting flame, there were silhouetted figures, running, cowering, our friends and neighbors. "Mama! Papa!" Layden cried out, and overtook me as I faltered. He attempted to run towards the carnage, but I caught his arm and dragged him backward into the bracken along the mouth of the trail. I hadn't seen them at first, but now I did. Striding amidst the chaos, armed with cruel blades and vicious spears, towering beasts cackled and howled. They were rounding people up. Someone made a break for the forest trail, over the small wooden bridge, and almost directly towards us. There was a hiss, then a thud, and he let out a grunt, stumbled, and slid face down to a halt on the pebble-strewn path before us. There he lay, with a black javelin lodged between his shoulder blades and jutting into the burning air. Layden let out a squeal of panic, and I clasped my hand over his mouth, urging him to remain silent and restraining him as he struggled to run. His blue eyes were wide and full of tears that reflected the horror before us. I took the stick from his hand and assured him that I would defend him, but we were as good as dead. The nearest monster bounded forward to retrieve its spear from our neighbor as he still tried to crawl desperately away from it all, towards us. "Run," he implored, but I couldn't. Hold on, backing up just a tiny little bit. This is an interesting little bit, too. I took the stick from his hand and assured him that I would defend him. So it's like she's showing off her bravery, even in the face of complete just despair. And like, it is useless to try and fight these people with sticks, and yet she's still going to try and be brave. A little bit more about the character there. Despite being hunched over and crouching on dog-like legs, the monster was taller than any man I had seen. Well, I say she's brave, but then she's like kind of frozen in fear right now. Despite being hunched over and crouching on dog-like legs, the monster was taller than any man I had seen. It wore scuffed and rusted plates of black iron, crudely stitched to a quilted crimson jerkin that the creature wore over its own dark mottled fur. Its corded neck ended in a bestial face, with wild white eyes and large rounded ears. Black lips were parted in a wide and frenzied grin that slathered and frothed with terrifying glee. These things are pretty scary. I'm sort of imagining them as like armored hyenas or something. Like almost. Wait, is it? Yeah, I guess it's sort of like the creature on the front. It's like a dog, mousy kind of dog type thing, but with black armor and mottled fur. That's, yeah, good visuals. I crouched in the undergrowth, staring at the thing, completely paralyzed with fear and awe, as it reached over its shoulder and unhooked a massive weapon from a strap upon its back. The cleaver was twice the size of me, a blackened and stained slab of iron, with one edge ground roughly into a wicked blade which ran up its monstrous length, and then angled up to a pointed hook. The creature hefted the weapon over its head with one massive arm, let out a howl, then swung the blade down, and ended its victim's struggle in an instant. It lifted the body to examine its handiwork, and in the light of the burning buildings, I could see that it was Kirill. He'd only come to the village recently, and had worked for Layden's father. Now he was dead. The monster stopped suddenly, sniffed the air around it, and howled once more. Then it turned its head, slowly, deliberately, and looked me right in the eyes. Layden had collapsed into a whimpering ball at my feet, whilst I stood transfixed by the horror before me, my legs shaking, but refusing to move. The beast cast Kirill's corpse aside and began advancing upon us, gibbering and snarling, each step causing me to wince. Tears streamed from my eyes, but I was unwilling or unable to look away. Every fiber of my being wanted to run, but I planted my feet, and both hands clasped with white knuckles, raised leaden stick, his enchanted sword, in front of me. The monster reached me and stooped down, its face inches from mine, my weapon pressed against its throat. I could barely breathe, almost overpowered by its wretched breath and the stench of its unwashed hide and blood-soaked clothing. It let out a slow, growling laugh that gradually built up into a manic cackling, and before long the beast was almost doubled over in heaving hysterics. I stood defiantly before it, eyes wide and unblinking, the pathetic stick still aloft in front of me. When the dog-headed creature eventually calmed, it leaned in again, so that its face was unbearably close to my own, and its cloudy white eyes bored into my very core. And to my utter surprise, it spoke. "Little bearskin pup, your head matches drying blood. Your age is as it should be. You have the spirit of the warrior within you, as was promised. At last, I have found you. You shall be my own." Then, before I could have ever reacted, and with the back of its plated gauntlet, it struck me sharply across the temple. Well, I was right. She's going to get kidnapped at the end of the chapter. Okay. I feel like this spot right here, leaning in, face unbearably close to its own, these kind of moments, I really want like a smell to go with this. Like, what does its breath smell like? I mean, we can kind of guess, right? But those are the kind of details that really like pull me into the story. But also interesting that it ends with like, so I like that we start off in like imagination land, some fake action, and then we get a little bit of like relationship building between Layden and her, and like the differences between them, and find out that they're going to be betrothed, or so she thinks. I assume she's 11 years old. Maybe she doesn't really know. But then we go into like actual like serious danger land, and yeah, I like that it ends in just sort of a like a mystery here. So you have the spirit of the warrior within you, as was promised. So like, did they raid the village because of her? This guy seems to be maybe a leader among these creatures. Did it say on the back what they are? The Volcari. Okay. Yeah, these are the Volcari. So very interesting, very interesting. How long have we been going? I've totally lost track of time. 28 minutes. I really kind of want to keep going. But I think I have to end it here, sadly. Good test stream, though. Definitely pulled me in. I want to read more. I feel like it was a little confusing at parts, but I'm totally okay with that. I figured it all out. Yeah, this was a very fun opening chapter. I feel like we got a lot. I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more of like their culture before she gets abducted. It seems to me like if I had to guess, yeah, the next, like she's already abducted and taken. Like we're not going backwards in time or anything here. I think I would have liked to see like what life is like in the village. We get a little bit of that, mostly just like through these little bits here where like we get some remembered words from her mother. We didn't really meet her mother though. It'd been kind of nice to meet the mother, like understand what she's losing as part of this. Other than obviously like being kidnapped is a terrible thing. Like we know this is going to be like a traumatic experience, but I would have liked to just sort of understand a little bit more backstory. But I can't say that I didn't like the chapter. I am like, I want to like turn off the stream and just like keep going right now. I'm in the middle of another book, but yeah, very excited to finish this one. And if the rest of it is as quality as this, I can see why it became a finalist. So good job, Ed. Very nice. Hope this wasn't unbearable for you if you're watching this. And yeah, thanks Tim for joining. And yeah, maybe I will do another one of these with one of the other finalists. We will see. We'll see how much time is left before the winner is chosen. I doubt I'll be able to get through all of them, as was my original plan, but that's okay. This is fun. Hope it was fun for you guys, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.